Hello everyone and welcome to a brand new Worst to Best video. You seem to like those types of videos and I'm glad you do because it's some of my favorite content to do actually, and I'm planning to do more stuff like this in the future. And the band I decided to talk about today is Oranssi Pazuzu. Oranssi Pazuzu is a Finnish black metal band that just embraces the umbrella of black metal, creating their own unique fusions with avant-garde and psychedelic elements. And with each new album they put out, they manage to have something new and refreshing each time. And I can easily say that this band has, for me, one of the most consistently solid catalogs I've seen from any extreme metal project in recent memory. Each one of their works has something great to provide. They are constantly engaging, bizarre and technical, but never overwhelming the listener with pretentiousness. Everything blends so well together, and it's the atmosphere they create that is able to really hook you with their ideas. In my eyes, Oranssi Pazuzu is one of the most creative metal groups I have discovered, and one of my main influences in recent years when it comes to the riffs, structures, and overall feeling. Like if I'd ever make a black metal project, this is my go-to, from this new wave at least. While there's not an album that I dislike, this is a list that is going to start with my least favorite album and going all the way to the top. I might just have a picture in the background with my vinyl collection of Oranssi Pazuzu at the moment, and yeah, let's get right into the list. And also, since the names are all in Finnish, I'm probably going to butcher all of them, so keep that in mind. I'm gonna try my best. At number 7 is the album Varahelza, starting off with one of my introductions to the band, which led to an album that I certainly found intriguing, however not one that really hooked me with its weirdness and its fusions of psychedelic rock and black metal. It's not that much to the metal side, and so there are a couple of more atmospheric sections that serve well for what they are. However, at times they might feel long-winded. It is by far the lengthiest album of the band, going for almost 70 minutes, and to me some of the shorter projects are the ones cohesive enough to really show their strengths on putting together a complete work. While it's definitely an album that I consider interesting and quite weird compared to what I and you are probably accustomed to when you think of black metal, it just stays as a weird album that is good for what it is and the one with the least replay value in my opinion. At my number 6 spot is gonna be Mukalainen Puhu. The debut of Oranssi Pazuzu in 2009 was a really solid introduction of a band where you could clearly see the potential of something greater. As shown by this album cover, it's safe to say that this is the spaciest release the band has done. While the obscure psychedelic elements will make their appearance to a much greater extent with the next projects, Mukalainen Puhu really sets the tone in a really solid manner for what's about to come. It is bizarre, the fusions are one of a kind, the vocals and the riffs have the classic black metal formula, but the instrumentation really goes places, with the main highlight being the groovy bass line of the 6th track. Outside of the final 2 tracks that don't keep the momentum going, this album shows the first steps of a band that starts on a strong note, but showing the potential for something even greater to come. At number 5 is gonna be the album Cosmonument, and this is the one Oranssi Pazuzu album that is in desperate need of a reissue, because it seems pretty hard to find this one in particular. This is quite a bizarre album in terms of how inconsistent it can be at times. From straight up ambient sections to space rock, psychedelic passages, and in occasion just furious black metal blast beats and avant-garde structures, it contains some gorgeous moments like Cometa and the ferocious Luponton to Temanton, but it's possibly the album that I'd say leave it for the last. only if you are already accustomed to the insanity of the band and want to complete their catalog. It's quite rewarding for those who are already familiar and know what to expect, but this might also be, in a sense, the most challenging album to fully digest due to its over an hour runtime and the longest track listing with 10 songs. That might sound little, but trust me, this album is quite overwhelming. A really strong album in their catalog, but far from their most cohesive work. At number 4 is gonna be the album Mr. Kinsey. This is possibly my introduction to the band, with their debut on Nuclear Blast, which might have raised some concerns regarding the band's increasing popularity and how this label deal could have tarnished their reputation, but that's far from the truth. This is a really creative album with some of the more apparent implementations of industrial and electronics blending together to an extraordinary extent. And the production of this album is superb, like this thing sounds massive. It's an album that initially I thought it was okay, but the more I'd listened to it, it actually got higher than expected. Like I thought that this was gonna land at 6th place, but what really changed that was the first 2 tracks, who are really some of the best material in their whole catalog. Like this blend of electronics with black metal and this dreadful cold atmosphere is simply unmatched. I still don't consider this something all that revolutionary, but it's definitely rare to get such a multifaceted and dense metal album that holds up with their instrumentations and ideas that well. At number 3 is the album Valoniello. While this is certainly one of their most intense and more metal-centered albums, it's also the one where the more unorthodox electronic elements started fusing seamlessly together. This is a massive spike in quality compared to the previous albums in the list, and now we go into territory of some of my favorite metal albums ever made. And despite getting into this album much later, I was just simply astonished how quickly it managed to grip me with its moody and devastating tone. It's to the slower side of things and more sludgy in parts, not really their most avant-garde in terms of structures, but still the fusion of so many different elements of music shows the massive range of influence, and pulling these ideas off with constant creative avenues is something that very few bands have achieved, in my opinion, over the years. And I also have to talk specifically about Tiha Tempeli, the second track of this album, which has become my favorite Oranssi Pazuzu track. The atmosphere of the chorus is so haunting, the riffs are spectacular, and it's one of the few vocal deliveries that have really stood out for me. Like the switch up in the chorus has so much tension and anger to it. It's just marvelous. To me, this is one of the main albums that showcases what this band can do at their best. At number 2, I've got the album Montautuza. Their latest album is the closest example of an industrial black metal album in their catalog. And this release really blew me away. It's just so fascinating how, after all of those years, they are still able to evolve and offer something new with each release. This one just sounds so refreshing. It's their most chaotic, the most overwhelming and complex track actually, and yet there is still this spacey, psychedelic undertone that is the staple of their works. A massive standout in an already great catalog, expanding even further with how much they can push their boundaries. From the noisy bioalchemistry to the electronic-centered self-titled track to just black metal ferocity, bass drops, slow and heavy cuts, this album truly provides one of my favorite experiences in metal this decade. It is such a refreshing listen, surreal and ominous, and filled with some of the coolest ideas the band has ever done. I'm simply astonished by how good it sounds and how varied and consistently solid this is. I don't know what the future of the band is going to look like, but I'm getting constantly impressed how their output expands and evolves, so hopefully a new album by the band will be able to subvert my expectations, like this one. And finally, my number one spot with the greatest Oranssi Pazuzu release. It might not come as a surprise if you know me, but I truly believe that the greatest Oranssi Pazuzu project is Pharmakologynen. I decided to twist my own rules with this one and include this CP of the band because it's really that much worth it. Now, this material were originally released as the second album for the band, which was a split with Candy Cane, whose side was definitely bizarre but not really in a good way. So it brought it down a little bit. But the Oranssi Pazuzu side has like some of the greatest and most stunning material they have ever done. And I'm glad they were clever enough to realize the greatness of those 4 tracks and ended up releasing them on their own in an EP which I've mentioned before, but I truly consider this the greatest black metal release ever made, alongside with the album 777 Cosmosophy by Bluetooth Nord. Which I gotta say, the first Oranssi Pazuzu works feel like what Bluetooth Nord were trying to do with Hallucinogen, but Oranssi Pazuzu is truly on another level. And calling this the greatest black metal release is kind of a disservice because this goes beyond just another black metal release, even if it's one of the most ferocious projects they've done, with the presence of blast beats and harsh vocals. But the way the atmosphere blends with these ominous guitar tones and the bizarre nature of the synths, especially the way they are incorporated into the mix in tracks like Unihamahaki, is surreal. Ole Muukalainen and Unihamahaki are 10 out of 10 tracks for me, something that is not really usual to give in metal tracks, mind you. They have these weird unorthodox structures to them, while simultaneously being kinda groovy and melodic. The ambience is absolutely trippy, and also the final cut is this ominous, alienating track with layers of siren-like passages. It's called Absolutely Surreal, also one of the more lo-fi projects while simultaneously being super rich in its sounds. Definitely my go-to when it comes to imaginative and creative avant-garde metal, and the main point of influence for me. And so that's all with my worst to best list with the Oranssi Pazuzu albums. Let me know your rankings of their works down in the comments. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.